You are listening to the Next Play podcast, the playbook for high-performing leaders who want to exceed their full potential. From walking on the Ole Miss football team at 5'7", 150 pounds and earning a full D1 scholarship, to coaching thousands around the world and working with massive organizations like IBM. I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me as I interview some of the most successful people so you too can learn how to focus on always moving forward by deciding, planning, and executing on the next play relentlessly. What's going on? This is Richie Contartesi with the Next Play podcast, and today I have a very special guest. His name is Sam Taggart. He is the founder of D2D Experts. He has multiple tech companies, including Recruit-O-Matic, Vanilla. This guy is doing events with Brad Lee. He has his own conference, which is really big, D2D D2DCON. The guy is a legend in the door-to-door space. So super excited to have you on the show today, Sam. You're doing some crazy things. I see you have pictures. You're in Egypt. You're going to Costa Rica. You're traveling the world. I'm really excited to learn how you've built this company to where you are today, how you help your clients, and how you service your team as a leader. So appreciate having you on the show and pumped to jump into this.
Thanks, man. It's been a long time coming. You're on my show, D2D podcast, what, that was like years ago? Now we're
2
back.
years ago, something like yeah.
That's changed since then. I'm excited to catch up.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So let's dive into it, man. I just want to talk, how did you get, you're young, right? You've built this company. You have all these spin-off companies now. You're just crushing the game. So how did you get started in business?
Well, I kind of was forced to get started. It was one of those things that I was in a place where I was the VP of sales of a solar company for a couple of years, and I felt a mission. So I guess it really started with a call. Some people, they're like, what's your calling? And I don't think anybody has a definite calling. I think that they have a motivation and intention that comes up. And at that point in time, I felt like the industry was kind of broken. I felt like it had a bad rap. When you say door-to-door sales, everybody's like, oh, well, I'm in SaaS. I'd never do door-to-door. You wouldn't be caught dead doing that. Or you say door-to-door sales and it's cutthroat and sleazy, or, it's just had a bad name. And it was so just not a good vibe. And I was like, maybe I could do something to fix this. And so I started a conference, Door-to-Door Con, we do every January. We're going on to our 6th year now. And it's been cool to watch that grow. But I was like, I'm going to host this podcast and start a conference, thinking I could just still be the VP of sales. The problem was I took away my neutrality by being the VP of sales. And so I would be in a recruiting environment where I'm trying to recruit people. And I started building this following. And I was I felt guilty recruiting, even though that was my job. And I was like, if I recruit you, then I feel like I snaked you from somebody, but my whole mission is to unify, up level, bring honor and integrity to this industry. Yet I'm stealing reps from other companies, and it's contradicting itself. So everybody thought my first event was like a Trojan horse. Oh, brilliant. Sam is going to come to this big event. Everybody's going to come to it. He's going to take all my guys. So I'm not sending any of my guys to his event. And so I got to a point in the fall, winter, just maybe a month or two before the event, that I was like, crap, I can't serve two masters. I gotta do one or the other. And I just told the owner, I was like, look, I gotta go. My heart isn't in this. My heart, even though there's no money, there's no, didn't have a paycheck for a year and a half. You know what I mean? It was one of those things where I'm leaving a very healthy income to, and I built 2 years of I was waiting for the good payouts because it takes a minute. And I left. I was like, I got to go. And they respected that. It was cool to watch the owner be like, all right, we'll see you in a couple months. What are you going to do? Make money on a podcast and an event that makes no money? And I was like, yep, I'm trying to figure this out. And, I kind of had a chip on my shoulder when he kind of said that. He was just see you in a few months. And I was kind of like, no, but I would come back here. But the ego in me would be like, I'm not going to come back with my tail between my legs. You just lit the fire under me to be like, damn it. I'm an entrepreneurial minded guy. My dad was an entrepreneur. My brother, you know what I mean? I was just like, I'm going to figure this out. And that's how I got to start.
Dude, that's a big thing to go from, you have your VP of sales and you want to have this event. Most people really struggle to get people to come to an event. So how did you do that on the first one? How did you get people to attend this event? How did you come up with the event? Like, running an event is a big thing. Like, how did you make that jump from VP of sales, recruiting to an event? Like, that's
It's
tough.
a random thing. I'd never been to a conference, let alone.
You've never even been.
No, I was never like let me go to these conference junkies. Like, I didn't even know conferences were a thing. And so when they were like, you're going to host a conference, Sam, like, what do you do? I was like, I don't know. So I called my sister. She had done like booths at a conference before. And these are like women's like boutique conferences. I'm not talking like personal development, like what I'm in. And anyway, I was like, how hard could it be? Like, you get in a venue, you get the speakers, and then you got some vendors to help fund it. Let's do it. And I think the reality, I had like 800 and something people there my first year. And it was interesting because
850 people in the first year.
Yeah. Like, it took off. Like, my goal was 500. Like, I was like, if I could get 500 people, that would be like, go down in event history. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, dude, I'd crush. I'm competitive. The cool part about me is I created a new ocean that didn't exist. So if you're in door-to-door sales, there is no other door-to-door sales conference. Like, there is no other like family. And the mission was to say, let's come together and up level and share best practices and tips and tricks and, really unify. And we created an award system to recognize industry wide. Now, since then, we have competitions industry wide. And I think just kind of calling friends and homies and just being like, you got 20 reps, bring them. You got 10 reps, bring them. You got 20 reps. Like, I had to sit there and pick up the phone and be like, can you please come and buy tickets to this? I promise nobody will recruit your people, and I promise it's going to be epic. And there was like a really pure motive there. And what ended up happening is the week before Door-to-Door Con, that same week, I get a phone call from my old manager at Vivint. And he's like, hey, just heads up, we're booking our event the same time as your event, and we're bringing in Grant Cardone. And so you should bring everybody that's coming to Door-to-Door Con to our recruiting event at Vivint, at the Salt Palace down the hall with Grant Cardone for free. And I'm like, wait, are you kidding me? Is this a joke? Like, and I hang up. So I call up another Vivint rep and I'm like, hey, do you know of a speaker coming this weekend? Like, have you heard of anything? No. And I was like, what? 2 hours later, I get a phone call from him. He's like, dude, is this what you're talking about? He's like, that's jacked up. They're literally bringing Grant Cardone and competing an event right down the hall from you just to F with you. And I was like, no way. So I'm scared out of my mind. I'm like big orange bulldog in our industry. That's like kind of the bully that, you know what I mean? Like, they freaking throw a free event with Grant Cardone. I don't have a budget. I'm like, just like this little, like, see if
right.
budget, you know what I mean? And I just was like, oh my gosh. So I didn't say anything. I just like shut my mouth, played the high road. Well, what ends up happening is other owners of other companies heard that Vivint was doing this to me, that I was homies with. And they're like, hell no, Sam, we got your back. Do you need me to speak? I'm bringing my team now. We're just going to show Vivint like they're a freaking piece of shit. It's like, so it, like, what it did is it like rallied people around the cause, which is an interesting principle about when I create a for-purpose business, or I have a business with a purpose. Like, I found people coming out of the woodworks that heard what Vivint was doing to me that was just wrong. And it created this stir that created interest that then all of a sudden became a positive for my event that I thought was going to be a negative.
Right. Jesus. So you ended up, so they came, brought in Grant Cardone. They made it free. Yours was paid, but everyone rallied around because they're like, what this company did is messed up. We're just going to. Yeah.
And I would say half the audience kind of left during the hour or two that he was speaking and then kind of came back. And he shit the bed, dude. Like, not nothing against Cardone, but like, he was just like calling people fat on stage and just bad energy. And everybody walked back. And I have probably 50 screenshots of social media, like slander. I'm talking like their own company. Vivint was like, that was an embarrassing act. Like, wow, we learned a valuable lesson. Like, how, like, what a bad vibe. Like, everybody was throwing mud at Vivint after, like, they all were just, it was coming from the wrong intent. The only reason that thing existed was to recruit and flex, to the point where in the backdrop of the stage, they had a hashtag only Vivint, like literally in the backdrop. And it was like, hey, tell us why any company would be better than us. And I was just like, dude, like, so I hear all this feedback and I'm like, So I call up the dude that called me on Monday, and after the event's all settled and stuff, and I was like, oh, hey, how was your event? How'd it go? And after, he's like, can you get everybody to take this stuff down on social media? Can you tell people to stop? I'm like, you brought this on yourselves. Like, I didn't do it. I just existed. I just did the event.
Dude, that's nuts. So how did you turn this into a business? How did you turn one event? You had success. Did you sell sponsorships? Did you how did you start, and how did you turn this into what it is today?
So if you think about like an event, it's more about exposure than it is income. You know, everybody thinks like Sam's got to be making $1 million on this thing. And I'm like, no. You realize I spend hundreds of thousands of dollars just on speakers alone. And the risk versus reward, I think when running events, people don't the fact that I kind of only lost like 20 grand on my first event. Everybody's like, wow, you only lost 20 grand. The second year, I only lost 10 grand. Like, you do 8 months of planning, you have so much cost, right, and your risk is like so great to lose 20 grand. So it's like, I do coaching, consulting, masterminds, online trainings, technology. Like, I have so many other things that stem from that, and it puts you in as an authority figure. It also helps you make really cool connections to where like Tim Story's coming to Switzerland with me, Coach Burt. Like, I've been on Ed Milet's podcast and Jordan Belfort, and, you know, you've got Bradley. Like, I've built these relationships that are really cool. Like, there's been a lot of other outcomes that aren't just like, hey, I make money on an event.
Yeah, no, the event is not about making money. The event is definitely about promoting and getting connections, and, you know, putting yourself in a position as an authority. So walk me through that process. Like, how did you go from this first event to end up building what you have today? What was the first business that stemmed from that? Was it training?
Yeah. So this is what happened. Okay. This is hilarious, and not many people know the story. So I'm coming up to go speak. It's end of day one. Dan Clark, a buddy of mine, he's like the keynote.
I know Dan Clark. Yeah.
So he comes up to me and he's like, Sam, so what you selling? And I was like, what do you mean, what are you selling? He's like, wait, you just put 800 some people in a room and they're not going to sell them anything? I was like, no. Why would I sell them? So he's like, well, how much money are you going to make on the event? I was like, oh, I lost some money. He's like, so why don't you sell them something? I was like, oh yeah, that's probably a good idea. So he's like, why don't you sell them a mastermind? So I was like, okay. So I was like, what's that look like? He's like, I don't know, just put like a year program together. So literally day one evening, I'm putting together my own mastermind for the year. So this is a business principle in and of itself. Like, I had no recollect. Like, I'm like, what should I call it? Like, let's give it a name. Let's give it a program. When are the event? Literally made it up the night before. The next day I get up on stage, I give my heartfelt keynote. I'm like, yeah, rah. Anybody wants to sign up for this mastermind? It's $30,000. Let's go. And I had like 7 people sign up, and I was like, whoa, this is a thing. Now I got like 50, 60 CEOs in this mastermind and we've been doing it for 4 or 5 years. You know, we go to Switzerland this year. We just went to Orlando last week. You know, we're doing all sorts of cool shit. Like, and it's just a cool CEOs group. But like, that's what really started. I was like, oh, I have a thing. And then, you know, and the online training piece was a piece like that I was passionate about, and I built that and kind of kept iteration. So I have like 1,000+ videos on sales, leadership, recruiting, solar, roofing, pest, alarms, like industry specific. And over the last 5 years, I just built this awesome library and system around helping companies optimize their training system. And so not just like, hey, buy my course. There's a lot of those. I actually have a film team. I have several videographers that travel around the country. They do about 20 to 30 film days a month, going to companies and filming, editing, and creating their customized training platforms. And so that's actually been really the business model that I've ran that most people don't even know. Like, I have 200 and something companies that we are the back end support, video creation, and content that we've already have, so that we can automate people's onboarding and training and rep and leadership development system.
Wow. Okay. I did not know that. All right. I thought it was just a training and development. Got it. So you actually go to.
Yeah. To the point where we're actually building our own tech to support coaches, leaders, enterprise companies to better expand and have leadership frameworks to take not just training online, but like, you know, goal setting, reviews, assignments, all of that into one system. And that's what we're passionate about now.
Is it going to be like an all-in-one, like CRM with, you know, like have you ever heard of a High Level, Go High Level?
Yeah. It's not that. It's taking that data, but putting it meets that data of performance meets training, meets life. So you could put fitness, you could put habit tracking, you could put, so it's kind of, how do I call it a human development system. So we've trademarked this new category that we're creating in tech that, and I don't talk about this much, so just keep this all under, I hope nobody listens to this, but anyway, it's something
I guarantee that.
Hey, plug your ears if you're listening. No, it's actually really cool. It's something I'm passionate about. I'm writing 3 books right now on it. It's a series of self-expression, achievement framework, and expand, which is the human development system. But most people are leaders and they're coaches and they're trainers and they're managers, but there's no clear cut like system to teach you the frameworks of better leadership. It's like, you talk about accountability and then you're like, I had a coaching call this morning, and then you have action items and then it like lives in the ether, or maybe you put it on a Google Doc or something. I'm like, that's so like 2000. So right. We're 2022, you know what I mean? Like, let's build some real cool technology that takes videos and content, events, community, communication, accountability, goal setting, tracking, assignments, onboarding, all of those things, and encompassing it into one integrated system. So you'll see it over the next little bit, but like, it's pretty cool because we've been doing it for 4 years, just using an LMS. Now we're taking it to a whole nother level of how to really help leaders expand the lives they lead.
I like that. Is that how you're kind of, are you working with Brad Lee at all on that? I know, no. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking in terms of like, this is definitely the next level of thinking, right? Like we had Cody Schill on here, and he was talking about his onboarding and his leadership and development and stuff like that. And so, I think what you're talking about is being able to put this all in one and deliver it up front.
Yeah.
Got it. Because right now you're helping them, but with the platform and the trainings, but they're actually the ones filming it. You're filming it, but they're actually the face of their training.
Yeah. Well, it's a co-creation. I'm the face of a lot of their trainings, or I have experts in a lot of these fields. And then they're the face. Like, I kind of call them the sprinkles. I'm the meat and potatoes, and they're just the toppings. Because like, everybody's company's different. They have different CRMs. They have different visions. They have different onboarding processes. They have different products. And so it's like, how do we kind of put the toppings in the packaging? But at the end of the day, training, sales is sales, training, solar, roofing's roofing. You know what I mean? So like, selling, it's the same. And I have the best people in the country that I've filmed and edited with. So it's like, do you want your people trained by the best, or do you want your trained by your guy? So let's put them both together.
I like that. So what's your in your industry, in the door-to-door industry, right? Leadership is so important because, sales reps, man, it's like a revolving door for most. You're getting kicked in the teeth all day. In other industries you are too, but you also, I would say most use the setter closer model. Yep. But what's your philosophy around leadership specifically and around their sales teams? Like, how are you? Yeah. What's your philosophy around that? What's working?
Well, 3 components of leadership in our industry that I would say are critical. One is lead from the front. Like, in our industry, speed of the leader, speed of the team. There's no like hiding behind a desk. That's like William Wallace effect. I'm the frontline battlefield. I'm the one carrying the flag with my face painted. And if I can do it, then you can do it. And second principle would be culture. What you tolerate persists. And so a lot of people in direct sales are like, oh, I don't know if I can hire more salespeople. They have a bunch of crappy salespeople, but then they're wondering why their sales numbers aren't high, but the lobster effect happens where the bottom guys are pulling down the top guys. And so if you're not willing to trim the fat, you're not willing to kind of higher the standard or raise the standard, then you're going to have low performance. And then the third one would be just accountability and execution. Like, so many of these guys are such sales mindset leaders that they struggle at having system mindset leaders around one-on-one meetings, KPI tracking, systematic, like sales training, that kind of stuff, that where they're just thinking, I throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And then they're pissed off when nothing sticks. When I'm like, whoa, you didn't build a system to throw things through to ensure that they stuck. You're just hoping it all works.
Right. Okay. No, I like that. So like, I mean, I'm not sure how familiar you are with Next Play, but it's basically an accountability system.
Yeah.
So many sales leaders, like you said, I mean, you could be doing one-on-ones, you could be doing group team meetings, you could have core beliefs and expectations and commitments and team, but if you're not doing it the right way, people are not going to want to be a part of it, right? They're going to bounce.
No.
And you're going to have inconsistency issues, complacency issues, retention, like the culture is developed from that. So how do you go about teaching that? Like, I'm just curious from your perspective. Like if I'm a VP of sales and I know I need to work on those things, what's your philosophy around teaching that? Like, how do you go about doing that?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, I was like, how long do you got? A big part is desire. You can spew content and information on somebody all you want, but until the leader actually has like a big wake up call where they maybe lose their sales team, maybe they get some feedback from the owner, like whatever that looks like, they've got to have some kind of spark or curiosity around, I am ready to level up as a leader. And I think there's a transitional phase between sales rep and leader or employee to manager, whatever that looks like, CEO, as you level up into an entrepreneur. And there's this lull of like identity shift. And some people it happens quick, and some people it takes like, a year or 2 or 3 or whatever, where they're still holding on to the old version of like, I'm a rep and I make my money through my actions versus a leader. No, I make my money by me inspiring other people's actions. And when you have that mental shift, then the desire comes. And now I come into them and I say, hey, like, okay, you want to be a better leader, and really identifying what does an ideal leader look like. That's the next step. Where you want to be at, do you even know what a leader looks like? And a lot of people never have been exposed to true proper leadership. I luckily did come from a culture like Viv, and I like love their, as much as they through that event, I still don't like discredit like what they did for me as far as having good leaders in place and good systems for that, because I was able to witness what good leadership looked like. I was able to look like emulate good leadership, where I think a lot of people never got to see a good leader. Their parents weren't that great of leaders. Their teachers, you know what I mean? They never were surrounded by proper leadership. So then the piece would be, can we identify the exact ideal of what a leader would look like? And then the third piece would be, what are the frameworks and systems around how to execute on leadership? Like, so many people are like, I'm a leader. I'm like, well, tell me how you lead. Like, I just do and talk and motivate my guys. I'm like, okay.
Coach them.
Yeah, coach them. And I like, I show a motivational video, and I'm like, okay. For me, I'm like, culture is created by design, not by default. And too often we think about by just existing and running a sales meeting, then we have culture. I'm like, no. How do we intentionally map out the feelings, the exercises, the action plans that we want our people to do? And then how do we go continue to execute on that?
Yeah.
Kind of would be the framework I would teach.
Yeah. Okay. So if I'm in a leadership role, first of all, you there's nothing you could do if there's no desire. That's number one. Like there's just, I get it. There's not enough pain if there's no desire. So, okay. So walk me through how, so you started doing these, you filming, you're still doing that today. How did you get to the next level from there? What was the next step for you? Like, did you start, and how did you start selling those packages? Like you had this event and then all of a sudden it wasn't necessarily training as much as helping them implement their own type of, onboarding and leadership training and sales training. Like, how did you get that off the ground?
Well, it's just, is there a need? I mean, in any business, I don't care what you're selling, can you find a gap? And, I've created a recruiting CRM called Recruitomatic, where I watched myself included as I would recruit hundreds of people on a note in my phone being like, oh yeah, remember to follow up with Tommy. And I'm like, there's no pipeline of a recruiting system. So I was like, why don't I go build the tech for that? I watched myself, the setter closer model, and I had a 50% show rate and a 50% no show rate, meaning half of my leads never even sat down and saw their proposal. So I was like, what if I built a texting system to automate the follow-up because email doesn't really work. So I was like, what if I built and figured out a way to re-engage and rehash the leads that I set? So that's why I created vanillamessage.com. And so the training I watched, even at freaking Vivint, I was so bugged to the point where I created my own Wix media website that was rogue from Vivint's training, because I was in the training videos at Vivint. Yet they cut out half the good stuff. They're like, well, technically we can't really put that in there. And I don't know about this. And I'm like, but then you missed the main key points of what I do in an actual sale. So I started making my own videos. And I realized that more people liked my videos, even though they're terrible, low quality camera filming, but they go to my website. And I was like, whoa, nobody's got good training out there. So I said, what if I go make the best training out there possible? And I make it accessible to, I don't care if you're a 5-man company or 100,000, I have clients that have 2,000 sales reps that use my training. I have clients that have 2 sales reps that use my training. And I said, I don't care who you are. I found that there's people out there that suck at training, and they think that and I was just like, well, why don't I make it? And that's what created this thing to take off. I felt like people wanted culture and community and a mastermind. Like, I watched these guys, I could show you texts from the last 24 hours. Like this guy, he used to work for me at Solcius. He texted me this last night. He works for me at Solcius for like a year. This was probably 5 years ago. He joins my mastermind. He came to my boot camp last week in Orlando. This guy's the VP of sales of a company that has, I think under his downline, he has 800 sales reps. He's a badass. You know what I mean? Like, the kid's not like some low fry, like making millions of dollars a year, crushing life. He goes, I wanted to thank you for your trainings. I needed that content to connect the feelings I was already having, but couldn't tie the principles to it to teach it. With your help, I could. Achievement versus fulfillment and realigning our purpose. Appreciate you, man. Like, to get those texts and to get those like from people that are just like cooler than I am, like whatever. He just needed an event, a network, a community, a mentor, somebody to be like, let me show you how to like put this into a package and help your people. And I think that that didn't exist. Like, I was in there looking for it. So I was like, if I can't find it, then it doesn't exist. So why don't I create it? Hence why I created the Taggart Bucket List Mastermind. 2 weeks ago, I'm in Egypt. I took a bunch of entrepreneurs to Egypt just to go do fun shit. Like, I was like, I'm going to Peru, Lake Powell this year, cage diving with great whites in South Africa, heli skiing in Canada next year. Like, for me, I'm like, how many cool people want to go on cool trips like that with other cool people? Well, then I'm like, these are all on my bucket list. You want to come with me? I was going to go anyway. And so, for me, I was like, how do you find a gap? And then people will buy because there's a gap. They're asking for that.
Right. I like that, dude. I think that's so important, and finding the gap and seeing it and then being able to capitalize on it are 2 different things. Right. And you saying, hey, like, I'm going to create these for my team. And then it ended up being something that other people wanted. So, super powerful, man. So walk me through what's next for you. Like, you've built this business. What are you still working in the business? Are you like, I know you started talking about this all in one platform. Like, what's the next place for you?
Yeah. That is the big focus, expand and really go beyond just door to door. And, our mastermind's opening up to, people are coming in thinking that they're going to get door-to-door business training. They walk out of there going, I'm just a better husband. I'm a better person. I'm a better human. Like, I care more about your internal poverty versus fixing your external poverty. And when I can help fix your internal poverty, all the other external poverty, like, I sat there this morning with a conversation, and I was like, she was so excited about making $100,000 this year. She was putting on these goals, and she's like, I want to make $100,000 and da 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 da. And I was like, and then what? And then what? You're going to get there, and then what? And then what? And I was like, is it about the $100,000, or is it about just being happy and feeling like the $100,000 can help you get other things in life, which would be experiences, memories, convenience. And I was like, my goal was that at one point. And then I was like, guess what? Today I want to make $100,000. And she's like, what? I was like, yeah, today I'm going to, and this morning I closed an $85,000 deal. I have 3 more demos. I'm like, I'll sell myself, not even my company, $100,000 plus this today. And I was like, at some point the money doesn't become it. Right. I wanted to make that because tomorrow I'm spending $70,000 taking 30 something people to Costa Rica, and I'm taking my kids, and I don't want to balk at buying 3 kids plane tickets and my whole company to go to Costa Rica for a week. because I'm about going and hiking waterfalls and horseback riding in the jungle with epic people that I care about. And so I started to change people's way of thinking about money and started changing the way that they think about it life. And so experiencing it in love and relationships and purpose and impact. I started a few nonprofits that I'm like really passionate about creating an impact. And when you can start shifting it, instead of like making it about, let me consult you on how to sell more deals, and you can start making it like, let me change your life.
Yeah.
That's what I'm all about.
Dude, that's awesome. How did you, so walk me through that. Like tell me about these nonprofits that you got going on. How did you come to this place where you're like, hey, I'm doing this. Now I actually, like, I've had enough experiences with people and I've seen enough transformations from the stuff I'm doing. Like, walk me through how you got to tell me about this nonprofit too.
Well, the first one was D2D Association. I was like, there's the real estate association. There's the freaking finance association. In order to go become a financial planner, you have to go through a series of test quizzes. You have to have licenses. Like, you can have it revoked. You cannot. Door to door is the Wild West. So I was like, how do we legitimize the industry and make it an association? Code of ethics, legality, arbitration, mediation. So like doing things to help make it professional. Second one is like what I'm actually more passionate about, which is called Street Smarts, which is a support for young entrepreneurs in high school, middle school, to teach them how to create a door-to-door sales company, like painting curbs, lawn mowing, snow removal, window cleaning, to where they can go learn a young hustle. To where a kid hit me up yesterday and he's like, dude, I just made $200 yesterday. He's like 14 years old, makes $200 in a day. He goes out and knocks doors, and he's learning not only how to go earn what he's worth, communication, hustle, handling rejection and opposition. The shit they don't teach you in school, you only learn in the streets. That's why we called it Street Smarts. Because I watch these kids coming out of high school and they're just like soft. They're playing video games and they don't know how to talk to people. And I believe a year in door-to-door sales is almost like a 4-year college degree in life, because you're having to learn people. And too often we think books are and class is going to teach us life. I dropped out of college and I make way more money than all the college professors. You know what I mean? It's just like,
right.
For me, I'm like, can I teach young entrepreneurs street smarts? And that's a big initiative that we're pushing.
Love it, man. Okay, cool. So does that have anything to do with the actual association, or are they just
totally different?
Totally different thing.
That's why I said I started a couple.
Yeah. No, I mean, the association is good because, it kind of it creates like, okay, so, every industry has an association.
Yeah.
It's like,
I was like, why not start one? Let's go.
Is that what you do all your awards through, or is that still through like the conference?
The association, like it's more so like, how do you be accredited? So you can be an accredited sales rep, accredited company, kind of like a BBB. There's a couple like benefits to it. So
how big is your company now today? Like, if you were to combine all of these? How do you lead? How do you manage so many different things?
I don't.
2 tech companies, two associations, or 2 nonprofits, 2, like, how do you like, how have you built this team?
And for me, people is important. Process is important. Leadership is important. Good people, good missions, good alignment. All that's so important. Like, I think a lot of people are like, wow, Sam, how do you do what you do? Like, I'm in a different country every state. Last week I was in Orlando, I was in Louisiana, and I was in New York all last week. Like, tomorrow I go to Costa Rica. I was in Egypt 2 weeks ago. Like, like, I'm not even here. So I have to have good people in place and good systems to where, whether I'm in freaking Costa Rica next week, I still have my dev meeting with my dev team. I still have like my company overviews. I still have people sending me reports, sending me data, accountability check-ins, because I'm not even there. I've had to put the systems in place to where I have to go speak. I do a lot of keynote speaking, host a lot of events. I'm all over the place. And I had to put the right systems in place to where it still grows without me.
Right. Especially because you're speaking. I see your posts, like you're always doing, and there seem like to be internal events, like your own events versus.
They're both. Like last week I spoke in Louisiana at an external event. There's like 300, insurance adjusters and lawyers and stuff. I spoke at a company in Orlando, and then I hosted 2 different events myself. So it's a combo.
It's crazy, dude. So you still do those. You still attend the meetings. You still do the accountability check-ins. You still do all of this.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So I love this, dude. And I really appreciate you hopping on the show. And I know you've got this platform and all this everything, but what's for you, like personally, what's your next play? What is your next place? You know, you've built these businesses. I understand you've got the platform and all that. You're doing experiences now, but like, what's the next play for you?
These 3 books I'm writing, they're like my life in a nutshell. And I've gone through a lot of journey, and it's just, I'm passionate about creating. And so I'm putting a lot of creative juices into these books, and I'm actually excited about this music I'm writing. I just started taking music production lessons, and I've written music my whole life, but I want to write music tracks that actually put you in trance that will help expand your life. So like 30-minute tracks that'll walk you through a guided, visualization or, kind of healing, or it's like a meditative vibey music that doesn't really exist right now, but you'll see it come out. It's pretty freaking sick. I lost my laptop in Germany, and so all of a sudden I lost everything. So I got to restart, but I lost my Instagram. Dude, it's like, God's being like, hey, you're not ready. Let's go. Hold on. Slow down, Sam. And it's cool. But like, I'm passionate about music. I'm passionate about these books. I'm passionate about really helping create legacy type items. Like I've written a book before, and it's like, I wrote it 6 years ago, and it's just still like sells off the shelf, right? Like I want to write these books, make this music that it doesn't matter in 10 years. You could still go listen to this. You could still go read this. So like building things that I could pass down to my kids or generations and be like, dude, my dad wrote that. My dad did this.
What are the 3 books?
So the first one's called The Self Experience, which has 4 categories. It's like your profile, meaning like what is your makeup? Like the disc profile, your color code, like who are you? Second one would be like your stories and beliefs. It's like your contextual bias, like your social economics, upbringings. It's what's created your box. Can you deconstruct that to expand? Then your strengths and weaknesses, kind of like your interest, and then your interests. So it's like kind of the self experience is like, are you living in someone else's box, or have you deconstructed all the boxes and found true self and understood self strengths, like why you are who you are, so that you can better show up and experience life at its fullest. Second one is the achievement framework, which comes from Matthew 7:7, which is asking you shall receive, seeking you shall find, knocking it shall be open unto, which is a simple framework to basically achieve whatever you want in life. It's like, go design it, figure out how you're going to get it, and go knock, do it. And it's way more complicated. I'm 497 pages in that one, now restarting, believe it or not. That one's been a 2-year project. Then the third one is expand the human development system, which is play the game, expand your life. Goals, accountability, mentors, and environment. That's what the game is. And it's all about achievement frameworks moving in an exponentially like growth pattern. So it's like you achieve, you expand, you align. You achieve, you expand, you align. As you move up in tiers in life, it's like, what's the mountain beyond the mountain? You go make your $100,000, then what? You know what I mean? Like, then you make your $1 million, then what? It's, if you're doing it if you're in an achievement loop, meaning you're getting sucked into just do more, make more, you're going to lose fulfillment. You're going to get sucked out of, well, why the freak am I even doing this? I'm just obsessed with achieving, but I'm not happy. And so if you don't have the alignment and the fulfillment side of this framework, then what's it all for?
Right. And so that book teaches you how to find that?
Yeah. So it's how to balance and continue the journey to mastery, but continue it with fulfillment, impact, and happiness.
I love that. So powerful, dude. So how does someone like, even if I'm on a VP level or I'm a CEO, where do I go where would you suggest to go to get good accountability, like done the right way, like positive to your potential, to the things you could be, like, because we can't always see our potential, right? And we're bogged down by so many different things that are happening. Where would you suggest for someone to go?
Well, a part of the game, goals, accountability, mentors, environment. So if you think about it, you have a goal, you need accountability, you need good mentors, and you need an environment. That's the cheat code. So like, where do you go? Well, it depends how you resonate, and it depends what your mission is. There's great spiritual journeys that you can go on. Like, I'm taking a group to Peru to do some pretty crazy shit. that might be an environment that you're seeking for.
Right. I see.
You might have like a very business structured board of director type spreadsheet type environment you're looking for. So it's hard where so many people think there's a one size fit all. Like I'm not for everybody. Like I told these guys this morning, I was like, hey, look, like I'm the first to tell you, I got 5 demos today and I don't even care to bring everybody on. I can only take on so many people. And for me to go spend this much time with you means I don't spend time with somebody else. And for me, I'm like, if I don't want you complaining, if you spend this much time and money with me, when you're looking for something else, if you're looking for some thing that's like super this, and this, like you're not going to like with me. I'm way more spiritual woo-woo kind of dude. And I'm not so much like, let me track you and babysit you, manage you. I'm going to speak to your soul and reconstruct your internal, and your external is going to follow. That's my approach. Where some people are like, will you hold my hand and check in with me every day to make sure that I did the thing? And there are systems out there that do that. And my
that would be like the habit tracking apps and stuff like that.
And I have an app, I'm building an app that will fit and suit for those, but it's not my mastermind, my coaching style. So, I mean, there's a lot of groups out there. I like Breakthrough Academy. There's us, there's you, I like Abundant is one that I like. There's all sorts of ones out there.
I like it. So where can people find you, Sam? What and you, masterminds, coaching programs, conferences, softwares? What's the easiest way to connect with you if someone has a question or is interested in one of your programs?
So Sam Taggart official on Instagram, you DM me, thesamtaggart.com or the D2Dexperts.com. Those would be the easiest. Go hit me up on LinkedIn, go hit me up on Instagram, I just reach out. Like I honestly, I'm pretty responsive. So
you really are, man. Like for somebody who's done what you've done, I mean, boom, you respond, you care, you want the relationship. So if you're interested at all in learning from Sam or working with Sam or just have any questions about what he's doing and how he could potentially help you, I would definitely suggest going to, you can even just go to his website because you can get him anywhere. It's the Sam Taggart, and that's 2 G's, TAGGART. I highly suggest going there, connect with him so that you can get one of his books when they come out. But if you want, that mentorship, if you're in the door-to-door sales world, and I know he's expanding outside of that, then I highly, highly suggest connecting with him. So Sam, is there anything else that you want to share that I missed before we conclude here?
No, I just think everybody's got on their own little journey. And the last thing I would say is so many people get into a comparing mind. Like, I'm not going to Egypt and Costa Rica, and then they get down on themselves, you know what I mean? And so listening to these, sometimes you almost it derails you a little bit. But my invitation is just say you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're exactly on track. You're exactly who you're supposed to be. You're where you're supposed to be. The time is now, and live in the moment. And I think so many people live in the future and it creates anxiety, and it's just trust where you're at right now and stop comparing. So
yeah, it's definitely a very challenging thing to do, especially early on. It's always, definitely early on when you see everybody up here and you're like, why am I not there? Why am I not there? But I think you said it right. And I'm glad that you said that. And that's that you're supposed to be where you're supposed to be right now. And so I think that's powerful. So listen, Sam, really, really appreciate you being on the show. Means a lot. And I hope to have you on at some point in the future.
Yeah, you're the man, dude. Peace out. Love you guys.
All right.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Next Play podcast. If you liked the show, make sure to leave us a review. For more resources, visit relentlessuniversity.com or download the free Relentless University app. And if you're interested in having me speak at your next event, visit relentlessrichie.com. Until next time.